Hey everybody, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show, excuse me. My name is Tom Marks, Associate Editor here at PC Gamer, bringing you 1.5 hours of completely politics-free talk about PC games, because I think a very big important thing happened in the U.S. yesterday, but we're here to talk about video games and nothing but video games and video game hardware. I guess it's not technically video games. Joining me today on the show is Mr. Bo Moore. How you doing, Bo?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing well. And also we're joined over Skype by Tyler Wilde. Tyler, how are you doing?
I am doing okay. I'm a little sleepy because I'm on the East Coast and I stayed up 3:30 or so watching TV. But I'm awake. I'm drinking cherry Pepsi. That'll help.
Well, we're glad to have you here. It sounds like you're, somebody pointed out in the chat, it sounds like you're in a little bit of a wind tunnel or something like that.
Yeah, my connection seems to be failing us, but hopefully it'll clear up.
Okay, well, hopefully we can get you, we'll have you muted when you're not joined in the conversation for the sake of folks' ears, I suppose. But we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about, Tyler will be talking about playing Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which he's been playing lately and just released his sterling review of on the site. Here, you can go check that out at PCGamer.com. But we'll talk about that later. We'll also be talking about the new LPC, the new Large Pixel Collider, which we built, which is this insanely big, ridiculous computer that we built and kind of how amazing and awesome it is. And then we're also going to look back at BlizzCon this last weekend, some of the news that came out of that, and also maybe looking at some of the predictions I either got right or wrong out of that. I think I actually did okay. I don't know if either of you guys watched my predictions video, but I think we did all right. You know, it was fine. Of course, we're going to be taking your questions from Twitch chat at the end, so stick around if you have anything you want to ask us about PC gaming this week. But while we are here and before we begin, let's talk about what we've been playing lately. Bo, what do you got going on, man?
Mostly I've been playing a lot of Overwatch still and continually. We've got the new hero Sombra finally released to the PTR, so I've been playing on the Overwatch PTR a fair bit. And on top of that, just a little bit of Hearthstone here and there, kind of gearing up for the upcoming Hearthstone expansion as well.
Cool.
So basically just Blizzard games, apparently.
So it's good that you're here to talk about BlizzCon stuff.
Yeah, this is true.
Some exciting stuff came out later, or that we're going to talk about later. I had fun at BlizzCon actually this weekend.
Nice.
Well, cool. Have you? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about it later, but I assume you've been on the PTR and.
Yeah. So I've been the public test realm for Overwatch, where they're testing out a bunch of stuff. I hadn't really hopped onto it much yet this time around, because they've been they're testing out a bunch of balance changes with, they've nerfed Zarya a little bit. They've given a buff to like Soldier and some other characters. Basically, there's like some pretty large balance changes going on.
They nerfed ultimate charge rates across the board.
Yeah, across
right?
the board, ults just charge a little bit slower because I think their reasoning was they said the game was kind of becoming too focused on the ultimate game and wanted more interaction happening outside of the ultimates. So they just slowed everything down there by I think maybe 15, maybe even 20% of the charge rate of the ultimates for everyone. But then, so I hadn't really played much of that so far, but then as of beginning of this week, Sombra, the new hero, was released to the PTR, so I have jumped in and played a few games with and against her, and she's pretty cool. I'm terrible with her so far, but I'll get better into it with time.
Yeah, and we can talk a little bit more about her in depth a little bit later. What about you, Tyler? What have you been playing lately?
Well, first of all, I switched microphones. Is that better? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, you sound good, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Everyone was yelling at me in the chat. I got scared. Yeah, I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare for the review I just published, which we're going to talk about anyway. So I don't. I guess I don't need to add to that here. Other than that, a lot of Civilization 6.
Oh, you're still on it?
Yeah, I still have the bad habit of not finishing games. I tend to get to like the middle of a game and then just decide to start over because I don't like how it
Uh-oh. We have lost Tyler.
Winning Civilization. Oh.
No, there you are.
He's
You're
back.
back. You're back.
I'm back.
Just got a slight freeze.
Yeah, I don't know, Tom. What are you thinking about it now, Civ, now that you've maybe put more time into it?
I've started to see, I mean, we've talked in the show a little bit before about how I've started to see some of the cracks in Civ 6, right? Like, the religion system I talked about even before the game came out really bugs me. But it just continues to be one of my favorite Civ games. I know a lot of people, even after it came out, are like continuing to rag on the art style, and I just love the way it looks. I think it's the only thing I don't like about the visuals is the like map sepia tone for the Fog of War. I feel like the Fog of War should have been like a grayer color rather than the kind of yellow it is. But otherwise, I think the visuals are great. I'm still really, really into Civ 6.
Yeah, the map is kind of distracting. I did use a reshade preset to lower the vibrancy of the colors because I kind of like it. I kind of like the whole thing to look like more like Civ 5's faded, faded war map. Mm-hmm. I feel like it looks cooler, but yeah, I'm okay with the art style. I can get over that.
It surprised me how much it continued to be an issue with some people, because I was expecting, I understood the reaction to it at the beginning when it first was shown off with that new art, but I kind of expected it to die down, especially after the game came out, because my reaction to it was like, man, that art style is kind of weird. And then as soon as I played the game in an early preview event, I was like, okay, I understand it more now that I see it in motion. And I was expecting the same thing to happen to a lot of people, but there were just a lot of comments still, which are fine, fair comments if you feel this way about like just still not liking the way the art looked. But I really like it.
Yeah, next I want to play Owlboy, which we'll have a review of this week, but I haven't started it. Sean Prescott in Australia is reviewing that, but I just keep seeing people talk about it. It looks cool.
Yeah, actually, we can jump to me now, because that's actually the main game I was going to bring up for now playing. I've been playing the two games I've been playing, which I'll touch on both, as Owlboy and then Titanfall 2, which I've still been really into, and I just beat the campaign. Obviously, since the last show we did, I left for BlizzCon on Thursday, was at BlizzCon through Saturday, and then I had Sunday to play games, and then I was back in Seattle on Monday, and then yesterday was, a preoccupied day, and it was just like, so I was playing a lot of stuff on this Sunday, and I beat the Titanfall 2 campaign, which I was crazy about, and then I also want to bring up some footage of Owlboy for people who don't know about it. It's a game that's been supposedly 10 years in the making, is what they said, which is insane to think about, that any game has been being developed for 10 years. But it's like it's a 2D side-scrolling sort of platformer, but you can fly indefinitely, and you're this, as the name might imply, Owlboy. And it kind of reminds me of Zelda a bit in that it's this adventure game. But the cool parts about it are the movement systems, because you fly around, and then you can also you carry these people that are like your shooters, essentially. So depending on the person you're carrying is like the type of gun that you can use. And it's just a very, very charming game. It's not super challenging or difficult. It's just like a lot of fun and really pretty, and has really nice like music and art and a cute little story to go along with it. And it's just a great game to just kind of zone out and enjoy. And it's like 5 people made this over the course of a decade. It's a really nice story, like in terms of its development. JBJ Blaze says it might be 9 years. I think, yeah, almost a decade. It's just kind of.
I want to play something cheerful, so I look forward to that.
Yeah, no, it's a good one for that. And then I beat Titanfall 2, the campaign. I still haven't had a chance to jump into the multiplayer yet. But I continued to be super impressed with Titanfall. I thought that the end, and I'm not going to spoil anything, I thought the last mission was a little bit like, but that that's kind of like, that's good praise if you're like, oh, the last mission in the game was and the rest of it I enjoyed. it was just so fluid. It was such a fun game, and the movement system was just great. I mentioned this on the show actually when we talked about it last week. It makes you feel strong. The whole campaign is just designed to make you feel like a badass, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's a feeling that can be really powerful in games, and movies. Some movies do a really good job of this too, like making things that you can't really feel through the screen or through the controller, like giving that sense and feeling to you. And so it's really cool to hear that has shown through in the game.
Yeah, there's just something about like sliding, like shooting some guys, running on a wall, shooting some guys, wall on the wall, then sliding through cover, turning invisible, getting behind another guy. Like it was a great feel to it. Just I know that's such an ambiguous thing to say, isn't it? Like
it's so hard to convey, but it's like it just feels good.
Yeah. We were talking a bit about that earlier too with multiplayer shooters earlier today of like, time to kill and like how do you make a game just like feel correct, or how do you make a shooter feel correct in a competitive environment?
Yeah, I mean, Titanfall, I've been playing Titanfall 2 as well. I started it before starting Infinite Warfare, which, as I mentioned, is not a very flattering comparison because Titanfall has, it makes you strong enough that if you get shot at, you don't immediately feel like you're going to go down. It's still challenging. But it's just the fluidity of movement and the responsiveness and being able to trust, exactly how high your jetpack's going to get you and what walls you can run on and just the way you press buttons to transition into like a sprint to a slide to like shooting 3 dudes with an automatic shotgun, that was like the best moment for me early on in Titanfall is finding a shotgun and just constantly sliding around. Like it would look really weird from an observer's perspective, just this guy constantly running, lying down and sliding across the ground, shooting everyone. But yeah, I mean, that works for me in Titanfall in a way it really does not in Infinite Warfare, at least in the single player.
Yeah, that I was always curious with games like Titanfall when it in terms of animations like that, because when I was playing Star Citizen with Twan's friends, they mentioned that all of the animations in Star Citizen are, oh god, I can't remember the term for it, but it's like what you see is exactly what other people are seeing too. Your character model, like there aren't specific animations for your view model compared to what other people are seeing your view model as. And I thought that was really cool, and it feels like in a game like Titanfall where you're sliding a lot, like that would be really weird to have the view model match, and I don't know. A couple people in the chat are mentioning that they noticed we've redesigned the set. For you podcast listeners, this isn't going to matter as much, but we took out this big IKEA lamp thing that we had back there, and Bethesda, we got in the mail today from Bethesda the special edition of Dishonored 2, so we put the Corvo mask up on the set, which is a game that some people in the office are just starting to play, and we'll have early impressions of pretty soon, so keep an eye out on the site for that. But, oh god, they're doing hashtag Mask Tom. That is not a good hashtag to start. That mask is not big enough to put on, guys. It is display only. Before we move on, Omadar79 just subscribed with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much. But Tyler, let's talk about the game that you have been playing recently, which is Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Yeah.
You released your review on this today. You had a review in progress. I think it was either late last week or early this week. I'll post the review in the chat. But you're welcome to go to pcgamer.com/reviews, and it'll be at the top there.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I didn't love it. It's just kind of...
Oh. He's hitched again, but we'll wait.
I froze again.
No, you're back. Go ahead.
I froze. I'm back. I sort of defended the series a while back because I think there's a place for like this sort of exorbitantly produced shooting gallery, but this one just didn't hook me at all. Like it's like so many people work on these games, and the spectacle is amazing. Like I think I say in the review, like some of the coolest scenes I've ever seen in a video game are in this game, like just skydiving onto Europa and riding like a Jeep across the moon, and you can see the Earth in the background, and there's rockets going, and that's great. But that's not mostly stuff that you're doing. That's just happening, and it's really nicely rendered, and it's cool. When you're actually shooting, you feel so weak and just. I played on normal difficulty, and anytime I tried to do like a cool like wall run, which you can do, I would just, your face kind of turns red, and everything blurs, and the screen shakes because you're getting shot at. So, you spend a lot of time just kind of crouching behind cover and then popping up to try to like shoot some guys. And I feel like they're more armored this time, the enemies. You can take 5 or 6 bullets, so you just kind of have to keep popping up and plugging away at them. And that is not very fun, in my opinion, at all, even if the spectacle's nice. And then you have multiplayer, which is pretty familiar if you've been playing recent Call of Duties, Advanced Warfare, or even Black Ops 3. And not many people are playing it on TV. On PC. Like it's fine. The multiplayer is fine. It's just it took me a long time to get into matches the weekend after launch, which suggests to me that there's not going to be that many people playing it. Like if this is the peak, usually it peaks after launch, then it'll be a little bit in trouble. It's hard to recommend a brand new $60 game or $70 if you want the Modern Warfare remastered that has so few people playing it. Like to spend $60 and wait 5 minutes to get into a multiplayer game is not good. And no, I have it on Steam, chat. I have it on Steam, and it's not that many people are playing it. Like more people are playing Payday 2 at any given time.
Let's talk about that really quick, because that is one of the most insane blunders I think I have heard of in a modern multiplayer game, is that the people who buy it on Steam cannot play it with the people who buy it on the Windows 10 store.
And I would expect no one should be buying it on the Windows 10 store. There was a story on, was it Motherboard a while ago, about a guy who said his kid brother bought it on the Windows 10 store for whatever reason, and there was literally nobody playing, and he ended up having to ask for a refund. So, so that is completely senseless. I mean, I think I sort of get what it is from a technical standpoint to integrate like the Steamworks API versus and have released on Steam, unexecutable, and then to have your universal Windows platform stuff going on, which is going to use the Xbox overlay and use the Xbox friends list and that kind of thing. Because they don't have a server browser, I assume there's no way for those to talk, for Steam and the Windows Store to talk. So I guess I get why they did it, but if that's going to be the way it is going forward for multiple for versions on the Windows Store and on Steam, that's pretty bad news for the Windows Store, because that means it's not viable, in my opinion, for multiplayer games. Because why would everyone go away from the platform they assume everyone else is going to buy it on, just in case some people are playing it on the Windows Store? That doesn't make any sense. So I feel like the Windows Store will or ought to stick to exclusives. I mean, unfortunately for them, and I don't really like buying things on the Windows Store, but I will if it's an exclusive that I care about playing, like Forza Horizon 3.
But how do you do, who? I'm sorry, I'm flustered by this.
Whose idea was this?
Exactly. Like, who in a meeting, who in the offices of Treyarch, or it's Treyarch this time, right? Or is it? Infinity Ward.
It is Infinity Ward.
Excuse me.
And Treyarch's in the credits, though. The credits, I swear, go on for like 20 minutes, man. It is insane how many people make these games.
But who in those offices heard that this was going to be how it was and signed off on that? Like, who? That seems like an unforgivable mistake to me. I just can't understand it.
I don't know. Microsoft wanted it on the Windows Store, presumably. Activision saw it as another storefront to get onto, and then they did it. yeah, it's pretty indefensible, like, to put a game a lot of people are going to buy for the multiplayer up there and not have it be populated at all. But it's not that much better on Steam. Like, yes, it is among the top 100 concurrent player counts on Steam currently. I would guess some percent of that is people playing the campaign, but like some of the new modes that I dig, I really like the new frontline mode that spawns you in a base instead of Call of Duty's usual kind of like circling response or constantly behind you. I really like it, but no one's playing it. Like, I got into like a few matches of it, and then yesterday I tried to get in, and I just sat waiting for 5 minutes and then closed it. So people are playing team deathmatch, and that's kind of what I can find. So yeah, the outlook is not great for Call of Duty on PC if this few people are playing it right after launch.
And we can pull up this page actually here to look directly at the first week Steam chart stats. On its first day on Friday, it was about 14,000 people peaked, and then Saturday peaked at about just over 15,000. Sunday peaked at a little more above 15, like 15.3. And then Monday it was down to 11, Tuesday it was down to 10, and today it's peaked out at 9. So it's losing, about 10% of its player base a day at that rate, which obviously is inflated because it's going to be high for the first week. But if we look at, the top of Steam charts right now, it is the 37th most played game on Steam, behind things like The Witcher 3. Like, more
it feels like people finishing the campaign and then leaving and going to play Overwatch or Counter-Strike or a different multiplayer game, or Rainbow Six Siege or whatever it may be. Like, I just don't sense people sticking around in the multiplayer because a lot of people are still playing Black Ops 3 and seem perfectly content to continue doing that, which I understand, because what do you get? You're going to get different maps, and they're going to like get crazy new names for the kill streaks and add new stuff, but it's just more on top of more on top of more every single year. So like, how long can you maintain this? I think we might have hit the point at which it can't be maintained anymore. I don't know. I think they'll still do okay on consoles every year, but it just doesn't feel like the PC. It feels like the PC is just tired out by Call of Duty, which is understandable. I've been writing about them since, they existed before I started doing this 10 years ago. So, and I really liked Call of Duty 3 and 4 and Modern Warfare 2, but then it just got to be this grind.
Burbs 00 in the chat asked how long the campaign is.
For once, it actually kind of varies, because normally in a COD, right, it's just a bunch of linear missions. But this time, you kind of have this cool space carrier, which is, I really like the design of it. And you can go to like a star map and you can choose some side missions before choosing to go on to the main missions. And the side missions are all fine. They're normal Call of Duty missions. Same criticisms apply. So I guess like 5 hours. I guess if you're just gonna power, I think it took me a little longer. If you don't do any of the side missions, pretty quick. But that would kind of be missing the point. Yeah, and there's missions where you're flying like a fighter ship called the Jackal, which are I thought those were the most fun of the missions, but they're all these tricks to make it feel like you're playing a space sim and you're really good at it, but you're not actually good at it, and you're not playing a space sim. The ship kind of controls like in Descent, where you can hover in place and strafe and turn around, which is kind of cool. But then when you go and lock onto something, I didn't even realize it was doing this at first, because it still feels like you have control, and you do. Like, you can break away from the ship you're chasing. But if you actually kind of take your hands off the controls, you realize it's just magnetized you to that ship, and it's slowly moving your reticule over it, so that even if you're really, really bad at it, eventually you'll blow up the ship. Because it has to be a game like made for everyone, right? Where it's like they can't let anyone get stuck, right? They don't. It's obviously it's not Dark Souls, right? Like everyone needs to be able to move on from every mission, so they're just kind of these tricks to like get you to feel like you're playing it well when you aren't necessarily. But then when you're fighting like on the ground, it just feels really oppressive to me. It's just constant grenade indicators and blood in your eyes, and that got really frustrating for me. Not because it's hard, but because like it just made me do what it wanted me to do, whatever that might be. Usually like stay as far away from the fight as possible and stay crouched, which just like I said, playing Titanfall 2 at the same time just gives them a really bad comparison because I was having so much fun. And yeah, BattleTank mentioned something that is funny to me, that people are constantly shouting orders at you, and you're supposed to be the captain and you're supposed to be awesome, but it's constantly like you're screwing up constantly in the game. And another thing that bugs me about Call of Duty is when someone yells, "Move up, go, go, go," and then you like run forward and immediately die, and you realize like, that was just flavor dialogue. Actually, I need to be hiding behind this, this pillar for another 20 seconds until the game has decided now you're allowed to move up because I have decided for whatever reason. I don't know.
There's a moment in Titanfall 2's campaign, and I'll try to tell this story without spoiling anything, where you're on a thing and it's moving towards another thing that you have to jump to. And this guy is like, "Okay, I'll tell you when to jump." And you start to move towards it, and he's like, "Okay, jump now." And then he goes, wait, no, hold on. And you have to, like, not jump. And the first time he said that, he was like, "Jump now." And I just jumped off the edge. And just, like, as I was dying, he was like, wait. And I was like, "Oh, God damn it. Thanks a lot."
Well, that's a good bit of comedy, whether or not they meant to do that. But
and, of course, the checkpoint is, like, you just respawn right there.
Again.
You haven't lost anything. But it's, like, so funny.
Yeah, so anyway, I think the multiplayer is fine. The zombies mode is fun as usual. I like Modern Warfare Remastered, but thinking those things are just fine don't really counteract the low player count and the fact that they don't change all that much year to year. Just I don't know. My score is that low because I really don't think you should spend $70 to get a remaster of a game you could buy on Steam with a server browser. It doesn't have a server browser. This is Modern Warfare Remastered. So yeah, it doesn't justify itself to me to recommend in any way other than it looks beautiful. And there are some like amazing action scenes in it that I don't know, if you want to kind of like experience the sort of filmic vision of that, it's pretty cool and it's fun to look at, but I just didn't enjoy playing it at all.
Okay, so here's a question I have for both of you now. Now that it's over, the FPS launch lineup of November, the onslaught of shooters is done. We've had Battlefield 1. Overwatch came out a while ago and just got its big update. Titanfall 2 is out. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is out. Wait, where do we stand in terms of shooters?
I don't think Overwatch should really be counted in that because it's kind of a different game entirely.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
if we,
that's fair.
Removing Overwatch from the equation, you've got those three, the big three, so to speak. Battlefield already differentiated itself by going for the large scale big game combat rather than the more 4v4 6v6 smaller encounters of Call of Duty or Titanfall or whatnot. So for a long time I sort of put Titanfall and Call of Duty. I mean, Titanfall was more or less a spin-off in terms of the developers of Call of Duty in the first place. So comparing the two of them, I guess, again, also in this cycle, at least, Battlefield has differentiated itself by going the World War I route. It's the old school weapons, not the infinite or advanced or mechs and tanks and stuff. So the logical head-to-head is Infinite Warfare versus Titanfall, and everything I hear is Titanfall has a great campaign, and I actually haven't heard a lot about the multiplayer, but I've heard that it's fun. Versus, everything that Tyler's just said, that the campaign is lackluster and the multiplayer is barely even there.
Yeah, I mean, the multiplayer in COD is fine to me. Again, I like, someone asked about zombies. I like it. There's only one zombies campaign, and if you don't have friends to play with, you might wait a while to find people to play with. But I can say in the review, I've already had more fun with Titanfall 2, and I haven't finished Titanfall 2. So that would be my clear recommendation. It's with Call of Duty struggling this much on PC, apparently, I can't imagine things are great for Titanfall 2 as far as player counts go either. I don't know. I haven't checked in the last week because I've been playing Call of Duty. It's just to put Titanfall 2 out after Battlefield, right before Call of Duty, before Dishonored 2. I don't know why they made that decision, but I don't know if it's going to get the players that it should, because it's definitely better than Infinite Warfare.
And it's harder to check, right? Because it's all through Origin, so we can't just go to Steam Charts or Steam Spy or anything like that and look.
Yeah, I have no idea right now, because everyone said the campaign was great, so that's what I jumped into first. I played one multiplayer round in Titanfall and sucked. Someone says around 6,000 players online for Titanfall, that's not bad. It's not like, I guess things are just changing, because doesn't it feel like, don't you remember the days where when any one of these big games launched from a big publisher, you just expected everyone was playing it the whole weekend, and it was going to be there would be 30,000 people or 100,000 people online at once, and now maybe a symptom of a good thing that PC gaming is diversified, and there are a lot more options, and there are a lot of people playing Dota 2 and Overwatch, and a lot of people playing League of Legends and stuff, that you don't necessarily get these. There's no guarantee to EA and Activision that you're just going to get people massively flocking to every new big game release. I remember when people were mad at Call of Duty years ago and kept saying, we're going to boycott it. And then the running joke after every release is yeah, but look, everyone's playing it. All the people in the boycott Call of Duty group are playing it. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think there are too many options.
And ironically, it's not a boycott anymore, right?
They're just not interested.
Yeah.
So it's, it's got a little over 2,000 reviews on Steam, 2,300 mixed. That's for a huge release and all the money put into it. That's not very many.
No, that's extremely low for a huge release. If we go to a different, let me try to pull up something I'll do The Witcher, even though that's a maybe biased example because it's been out so long.
Yeah.
But The Witcher
54,000.
has 54,000, right? And that's been out for a year, so it's had all these expansions and a ton of support, and it's a very different kind of game. So that's all fair to not compare them that way, but that should give you an idea of just the insane disparity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't. I'm a little worried that some of these publishers will go back to their early mid-2000s stance and just stop releasing stuff on PC if it keeps performing poorly. I don't know. Hopefully not. Microsoft seems happy to push onto PC, even though I'm not in love with the Windows Store or the platform. But yeah, I would say Titanfall 2 would be the shooter I pick, or Battlefield 1. They're both good, but they offer, like Bo said, they're different, as far as what they offer.
Mm-hmm.
Skyrim Special Edition has 16,000 reviews right now on Steam. So that's another kind of good indication of a AAA large recent release. And that one actually was given free to a lot of people, which is probably why there are a lot there too. But if we go to something like another recent big release, Civ 6 has 9,000, over 9,000. No meme intended. It's 2,000 is shockingly low to me.
And there's so insanely so much stuff in these Call of Duty releases. For $70, you get a campaign, that'll take you 5, 6, 7 hours. You get the multiplayer, you get the cooperative zombies mode, and you get the full campaign remastered of Call of Duty 4 and the multiplayer of Call of Duty 4. And that is a lot of stuff that could be packaged and sold separately, which doesn't seem like something they'll ever do. But if maybe you don't care about the campaign and all you want is like to play new Call of Duty multiplayer, like $60 a year, or 70 for special edition, or 100 for the even specialer edition. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. Like, even if it had positive reviews, after a while, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'm not going to spend another 60 friggin' bucks on another Call of Duty. Like, at least, I guess like Ubisoft took a break with Assassin's Creed for a year, finally. But I think people were starting to feel the same way about that. Like, just don't care, too many.
So there was this is a little bit inside baseball maybe, but like I've seen a couple discussions pop up about the idea of Call of Duty should just take a year or two off, and then the response is usually they can't. They're in these 3-year-long development cycles where the next 2 Call of Duties are already being made, and Infinity Ward is about to start work on whatever their next Call of Duty is. This isn't like insider knowledge that I have. This is just like that's the way they've been operating for the last however many years. And so it would be difficult for them. They'd have to essentially spike a year or two worth of Call of Duty games already in development in order to take a breather year to kind of reassess what the series should do.
Yeah, I don't know what their business plan looks like. I mean, I have a sense of it because we know how they operate there. I don't know. Maybe they're super profitable. I don't know. I'm not really worried about that. Like, are they making money, or is this a sound business plan? I just, as a critic, like, I care less and less. And I mean, yeah, I obviously I care in that I put a lot of time into playing and reviewing the game to give my perspective on it. But I don't think I'm alone in saying that I recall Call of Duty reveals used to be really exciting and for everyone. And it is not anymore in any way. You don't see a lot of hype except in the subreddits that are dedicated to Call of Duty.
And like, continue. Sorry.
No, and like I said, people are still pretty content to keep playing Black Ops 3. It seems like so. That's sort of what happens when you like segregate the multiplayer base every year with a new $60 game.
Yeah, it's they made Black Ops too good. They made Black Ops 3 like too appealing.
I mean, yeah, for real. If they make one too good, then
so, like, why move on to the next one? Yeah,
I'm not saying they intentionally don't make them good. I think they're fine, but it's like that's a real problem.
I don't know,
for them.
man. People say that Apple intentionally makes the iPhone to break after 2 years so that you'll have to upgrade. Like maybe that's part of. If we want to get real tinfoil hatty on it, like maybe they design Call of Duty games to be like boring after a certain amount of time.
Well, I think what they had to do is every year just put more stuff in it so they had more bullet points. And then so now the multiplayer just says, oh, you've got a payload you can activate along with kill streaks and along with this and that. And here's a new mode that didn't necessarily need to exist, but it's, like, because you can't just say it's the same as Black Ops 3, but there are some new maps, or maybe you could. Because they're not even changing settings that much anymore. It continues to be this near future or distant future thing with jetpacks. So, yeah, it's not like Battlefield where there's a clear difference between what 1 looks like and Battlefield 1 and what, Battlefield 3 or 4 look like. So, yeah, I mean, it's got to be hard for them to sell people on multiplayer every year.
Well,
and we should probably move on. That's a lot of Call of Duty talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's put the tinfoil hats away. Let's put the duty calling to bed for a bit, and let's move on to some hardware-y stuff, because I'm excited about this. We revealed this on Monday, the new LPC, the Large Pixel Collider.
It is so big. It is so pretty.
Yeah, it's just over there. We can pull up a photo for those of you watching on YouTube or live on Twitch. This is our baby. We've lovingly named it the LPC, the Large Pixel Collider. It's the second iteration of the LPC that we've done. We did the first one about 3 years ago, filled it with four Titan graphics cards that were like the best graphics cards you can get. And now we've got a similar thing going on here. Let me pull up the specs list.
This one has a pair of Titan X graphics cards, and that's the new Titan X with the Pascal architecture. So the best graphics card for gaming that is available. Intel Core i7 6950X, which is an enthusiast level processor.
What does that mean exactly? Tell me what enthusiast level processor, because does that just mean like excessive beyond the point of any human being, like any human being would need?
Kind of, pretty much. There's more nuance to it, but the short version is most of our processors, the i7, i5, or whatnot, will be clocked a slightly higher, but there are less cores in it. So ours are, I think, usually 4 or 6. I should know this off the top of my head. But the 6950X is 10 cores, which is so much. Each of those cores are clocked slightly lower than our, say, 4.3 or 4.5 or something. But it being 10 overall adds up to just significantly more processing power across the board, especially for big jobs of, massive video editing, extensive photo editing, things like that. That's just like takes a lot of rendering power.
And on top of that rendering power, we have 128 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, that's just excessive.
I have that's more RAM than I have on my my SSD C drive.
Yeah.
I have a 120 gig solid state C drive,
yep.
And this computer has more RAM than my C drive has storage, which is just it's just stupid.
It's absurd.
That's just dumb at that point.
It's so much. Most of our computers these days, 16 is enough to get by, 32 is more than enough to be comfortable, and 64 is like absurd levels. So for us to go double that even, it's excessive. But
how many instances of Minesweeper have you run simultaneously?
That's a good question.
Yeah, actually, we should try that.
Yeah.
We should push that to the limit. See if we can't emulate 5,000 games of Minesweeper and see if the computer doesn't slow down at that point. And on top of all this ridiculous hardware, we, for the hell of it, I think, built it, you might have noticed, to look like the Ark of the Covenant, because this is a face-melting machine. And it's just a beautiful, incredible case. The PC has to be turned on. It doesn't have just a normal power button. It has 2 little keys that you have to turn the keys at the same time.
As if they are nuclear launch keys that need to be turned at once. Here you can see Evan's face.
Poor Evan getting his face melted. We have a great announcement video that's actually, it's muted right now, but narrated by the guy who narrates Darkest Dungeon. It's a very, very silly and fantastic computer, and we built it to bring you guys just because we could, and it's amazing. But also, we're going to start recording 4K 60 FPS max setting stuff with this. It's we've tested it on a bunch of games already, and
it can do it. It's
insane that this computer can record video at max settings 4K 60 above 60 FPS. It's just it is a monster of a thing, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see what we can get out of it and what we can show you guys with it. I don't know, man. I'm what when you heard that this was happening, what was the game that you jumped to? I want to see that. I guess Crysis is always the joke answer,
That's
right?
the joke answer. For me, I when I really wanted to boot something up, I put Witcher 3 at max settings in 4K, and it was just this is gorgeous. It's so pretty. And Battlefield 1 looks amazing on it. We've got our monitor that's running here in-house is a 32-inch 4K monitor. And to have a screen that big, it's actually, I think, a 32-inch version of this monitor, actually. Could be. I don't quote me on that. But basically, it's a large monitor to have that in 4K and running smoothly in these games that are so demanding has been really, really amazing to see.
While we were showing all that off, Bryant's Hang in the chat actually gave us a cheer for 1 bit. So thank you for cheering on the LPC that way. It's worth that cheer, I think. It's just like, I was kind of a skeptic of 4K monitors too, because I used one for just like office use for a little bit, and I was tearing my hair out. I hated it so much because like all the text was super tiny, and occasionally you'd have things that didn't scale up right, so they looked kind of pixelated and gross, and I didn't enjoy using it at all.
It's a setting that definitely takes some tweaking you can't just like set it and go. You have to sort of get everything right, and very few people are, when I say people, I mean companies are like, 4K has not been adopted by the masses yet, so therefore it's not being totally catered to yet. It is, as we said, enthusiast level. And so it takes some tweaking to get it looking good, but in the LPC, it looks real good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Tyler, do you feel like left out of all of this, being on the East Coast?
I'm very, very jealous out here in Maryland that I don't get to play with it. But next time I visit, I will. I'll make you guys. I'll stay in the office after hours and just play The Witcher 3 or something, which I have not played, shamefully, yet.
By stay in the office after hours, you mean you're just going to sleep on like the chairs here and play it all night, basically?
Yeah, it'll provide me with heat and.
Not much though.
It'll be fine.
It doesn't run hot.
It's actually it's kind of hilarious.
Oh, wow.
We because the case is a great case. Let me pull up. Beyond just the case. So
it's a Case Labs Mercury S8, which is the Case Labs is known for their fully basically modular cases. They're large. They're so basically amazing to build in. The adage goes that once you have built a PC in a Case Labs case, you never want to build in anything else, just because there's so much space to work with. This one that we have pulled up is like a pre-configured version that they sell like prefab on Amazon, but mostly they're bought specifically through Case Labs, and it takes like a 10-week lead time because you customize every little part, and they build it specifically for you.
And this is just the skeleton of what we then hired some amazing case modders to go and
they took this awesome skeleton and built the Ark of the Covenant around it and inside it, basically.
But because it's so like big like that, Tyler, it has a huge amount of fans and a huge amount of airflow. You can kind of see if I reopen this image again, like it's got this fan here on the I guess that's the front of the case. Trying to think. No, that's the back of the case.
That's the back.
It's got these fans on the front that like pull through, and then the fans on the back blow out so much air right now because we haven't quite like tweaked the fans down to where they need to be just when you're like not playing games. Like the back of the case currently is facing towards the mouse and the keyboard, and it's like sitting in front of an air conditioner.
Yeah,
like it's not hot air at all. It just blows at you constantly.
Well, I just realized I couldn't possibly play it at the office after hours because it, as Evan reveals in the video, it requires 2 souls to carry and 2 souls to turn on with
exactly.
its dual key startup.
It's just it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It's real cool, and we definitely look forward.
What's the wattage of the PSU? How much is it? Do you know how much it's drawing, or have you not tested that?
I don't think we've tested. We haven't quite tested how much it draws yet, but it's a 1600 watt PSU. So there's kind of no worries about like ever going over that, because when we on the old LPC, this was actually something that we I don't think many people know is like the old LPC kind of later in its life had some wattage issues. Right, it drew a little too much power because of all 4 of those Titans in it, and like we had to do some rejiggering and put a new PSU in it way later in its life, and this is not going to have that problem.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with only having 2 graphics cards.
Partly because of only 2, but another big factor in that is the Pascal architecture of this generation of graphics cards from NVIDIA just has a significantly lower power draw. That's one of the big appeals of the 1080 and 1070 GTX as opposed to last year's 980 Ti and the rest of the 900 series, is that it's an equal or greater performance depending on which ones you're comparing, but across the board, the 10 series, the Pascal architecture has been way less power draw. So, even having 2 of them in there is not nearly as much power draw for the PSU to have to handle.
I'm just excited to keep playing with it, man. Like, I'm just excited to keep throwing games in it, because we played, like, it occurred to me that it was a real computer when Titanfall 2, like right before Titanfall 2 came out, and we got code for it, and I was just like, oh yeah, I can just load up.
Just go play it over there.
Load it up and play it on the LPC, and it's so sweet. It's like candy in my mouth, man. I love it. I've hugged it already. I've given it a little tender kiss, and I'm gonna get fall a little too in love with this and make my girlfriend jealous, I think, but that's okay. It's.
You can use it, Tom, but you have to wear the mask. It's as part of the ritual.
The Corvo mask.
Yeah, we've still got those robes hanging around, so you got to put the robe on the mask.
Oh man, I'm excited to share more of that stuff with you guys. Be sure to keep an eye out at PCGamer.com. You can always go to PCGamer.com/LPC, just like the letters, and that'll send you to the main page you can find with all our large Pixel Collider coverage. Find out what the specs are, and then also just look at some of our old LPC max settings videos from the old one, but also we're going to be rolling out, hopefully starting next week, some max settings videos of 4K 60 FPS footage, and you guys can see just kind of how crazy games can look, because this is really like, it's basically
pretty much the extent.
Yeah.
And, to answer a question I'm not sure if anybody has asked, but if you're thinking, like, why only 2 Titans instead of 4? Oh, yeah,
this is a good question.
Again, because of the architecture this time around, basically NVIDIA recommends against going greater than 2 SLI, than using more than 2 graphics cards. I'm not 100% sure why, but basically, I think the short version is diminishing returns. You really don't get that much more out of 3 or 4. It is possible using a special, like, not third party, it's first party, but sold separately, high bandwidth, multi SLI bridge that you have to get direct from them. So it's possible, but thus far, I'm pretty sure the only thing that basically having more than 2 Titans has even been used for and is useful for is on the Firestrike benchmarks. I believe the guy's name is Kingpin, with some special styling in there of how he spells it, has topped out the Firestrike, I guess it's Firestrike Ultra, whichever the 4K test is, with this crazy high score using a rig that uses 4 Titans, Titan X's, but like basically it's not even to throw a game at that. It really doesn't do that much more than what we're doing.
You're just showing off at that point.
Yeah. It's kind of like having 128 gigs of RAM.
I was going to say, you're just showing off, but I guess we did turn a PC into the Ark of the Covenant, so maybe we're just showing off too at this point. There were some questions about costs. I think it was a little over like $11,000.
It's about $11,000, not US. Including the custom rigging, the custom case mod. So just for the components alone, comes out to around $11K.
Just good God. And we'll bring you some stuff. The other thing I was going to real quickly mention before we move on, just to put into perspective how hard it is to capture gameplay at 60 FPS 4K at a high bit rate. There are games that we've played that cannot even then struggle when recording. They're fine not recording, but when you're recording, like at 4K 60 FPS, recording that is so difficult. You absolutely need to be recording it to an SSD, because if you're recording it at a high bitrate, most hard drives cannot actually write the data of the video file fast enough to record the video without being corrupted. And there are certain files or certain games that we recorded at such a high bitrate that VLC can't actually play them back. VLC is like unable to play that much data.
The thing that can play everything can't play it.
And it'll kind of look like jaggy and corrupted. And it's like, it's just such big files that you're dealing with that it's crazy. It's so cool. So we'll have a lot more coverage for you. Be sure to stay tuned at pcgamer.com/LPC, and you'll be able to see it all in person. And if you're listening on the podcast, I highly recommend you guys go check out this fantastic intro video. If you just go to pcgamer.com/LPC-video, we made a very, very funny thing with the narrator of Darkest Dungeon, and you can see Evan's face melt, so that's always great. But let's move on to some of the news from last week. We've got a lot to cover in terms of BlizzCon news. I was there in person, as I mentioned earlier. It was a fun show. I was mentioning earlier that there were some unfortunate problems in my mind with the Overwatch tournament kind of
some
formatting.
kind of logistic stuff, basically.
Yeah,
the tournament itself went very well, I thought, and watching it at home was really exciting. But
except for the finals, where South Korea just kind of like proved how good they were at Overwatch.
Very true.
But that's okay. That's good for them. We're very happy they won, and won in such convincing fashion. Really leaves no room for doubt, which is I mean, I'm fine with that. I like seeing that. But the stadium, a little bit of a negative. The stadium they built at at BlizzCon for Overwatch was just absolutely incredible and incredibly small, and like there just like wasn't a way to get into it once it filled up, and you couldn't really watch from outside. And so if you were actually at the event, it was kind of a worse viewing experience than if you were just watching on Twitch. But that's okay. It was still a very cool thing. And let's actually run through some of the news for each of their games that came out. So the first one I want to touch on is Hearthstone. Hearthstone's really easy. I said they're going to do a mobster-themed expansion, and hey, look, they did a mobster-themed expansion. Everyone saw that coming. They revealed some cards. That was pretty cool. The new set looks neat.
Yeah, the biggest thing coming from the new set is that there's now these three kind of cross-class factions. So there's a faction for Hunters, Warriors, and Hunters, Warriors, and Paladins, a class for Rogue, Shaman, and Druid, and the Mage class of Mage, Priest, and Warlock. And there are a couple of cards that it's kind of like a cross between a class card and a neutral card, in that if you were playing Hunter, you can play any one of these faction cards that could go into a Hunter, Warrior, Hunter, Warrior, Paladin. Sorry, I'm getting all the classes mixed up in my head. So it's cool. There's only a handful of these cards, but it's a cool little effect, and kind of paves the way potentially for more cross-class cards in the future.
Tyler, I know you don't play Hearthstone, but I know you did play Magic a bit. And did you hear about the tri-class cards? Because it feels very Magic-y to me. It felt like a lot like maybe Blizzard felt they were painted into a corner a bit with the strict class separation, and wanted to blur the lines a little bit more, like you get in Magic with dual color or even like 3, 4, 5 color decks.
I didn't hear about them, but sorry, I kind of tuned out there because it was like Hearthstone, and then I went, what are they saying in the Twitch? Oh, we have a typo on the side. Whoa, we better fix that.
I mean, I can speak. I played Magic as well, and
my Magic knowledge is deeply shaded.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some people they've compared this class or this set to the Ravnica block of Magic, which was when there were factions, and they were in Ravnica there were 2 color factions, but that were very tied together in terms of building decks among these 2 color sets as opposed to a monocolor deck. And yeah, like I said, there's only a few. I think there's 3 cards for each faction in this Hearthstone set, so there's only a total of 9 that can be of these kind of cross-class cards. There's 1 legendary for each, 1 card that's just like discover a hunter, warrior, paladin card.
Yeah, that's the most surprising thing. We don't have to spend too much longer on Hearthstone, but that's the most surprising thing to me is they announced out of like the 134, 132 card set, only 9 of these.
I was really hoping
cards.
for more.
Yeah.
And, obviously not the whole set, but
So
was really hoping for more. But, like I said, it definitely opens the door for this mechanic to be explored more in the future.
yeah, I want them to explore it more, which is encouraging for from someone who has pretty much entirely stopped playing Hearthstone, just for a number of reasons, but mainly I just kind of got like, okay about it. So on their other games, though, we can breeze through StarCraft really quick. I said probably nothing is going to get announced for StarCraft whatsoever, and it's going to have a down year and then prepare for something else. It's kind of what happened. They announced a couple new co-op campaigns and the final chapter of like the Nova solo campaign, and that was basically it. Warcraft also, like I imagined, had a pretty down year. There was basically nothing but the Red Cross like charity pet from WoW in the opening ceremony, and then I talked to the developers of WoW later, and they also had a panel about it. WoW has just like a ton of stuff that's coming in updates to Legion.
Just not like a huge standalone type thing.
It's nothing. Right? It's nothing major. Or I mean, it's a lot of major stuff to people who play WoW. It's exciting stuff, but it's like there's no expansion. There's nothing new to like to buy. No big major announcements. It's just that a lot of exciting stuff for people who are already into Legion to kind of keep sinking their teeth into to keep that
keep the momentum going.
That one. That's the word. Thank you for that. What are we missing?
Overwatch.
Diablo and Overwatch? Is that the last 2?
Yeah, I believe so.
No, wait. There was one more. Here's the Storm. Here's the Storm was also a pretty standard one that I got it a little wrong. They didn't announce any Overwatch characters. They didn't announce any new maps, I don't think. They just announced a new Brawl mode.
Yeah, there's the new Brawl.
And then a couple new heroes.
Yeah.
And then they also announced an interesting thing, and we can use this to lead into Overwatch. They announced a thing that said if you play Heroes of the Storm, which is free, with your friends, then you will unlock things like a fancy-ass Genji skin in Overwatch. So it feels to me like Blizzard knows not many people are playing Heroes of the Storm and knows that a lot of people are playing Overwatch and are trying to get the Overwatch
just
audience.
Go play a couple of games, and it's not just play, like, I believe it's you have to play 15 games with a friend. So it's not just like, go play a few games of Heroes of the Storm where you can just kind of like queue up and lose your games to get your skin if you want. They actually want you to make sure that you play with a friend, because I suppose the reasoning is to get people to play it as intended, which is with friends, to, I guess, hopefully get them into the game.
Yeah.
You're not going to trick me, Blizzard.
I mean, Blizzard has definitely done this sort of cross-game promotion before. You'll do this thing in WoW and you unlock a Hearthstone hero skin, or do this thing in Overwatch or something and you get a WoW pet or a Heroes of the Storm character or something. So it's not particularly new, but definitely in terms of making you play their least popular game, or not least popular, but one of the downer games in order to unlock something in the popular game.
One of the downer games.
I'm sorry, Blizzard, I didn't mean it.
I mean, it's funny because Here's the Storm, like,
it's quite popular.
I still
not
think it's
as
a really fun
Overwatch.
game, right? It's just like has this perception around it. I'd be interested to hear how many people are actually playing it, because I imagine the esports isn't doing very well, but that doesn't mean the game is doing bad. It's still a very fun game. But let's stop. I saw a couple people saying we were teasing them in the audience. Let's talk about Sombra and let's talk about Overwatch, because this is probably the biggest news that came out of. I mean, even the arcade mode is kind of a bigger news.
It almost is bigger, yeah. So the biggest things to come from BlizzCon in terms of Overwatch, obviously Sombra is a huge impact and will have a huge impact on the game going forward. As expected, the Sombra ARG kind of came to a head and finished, everyone predicted, oh, Sombra's going to hack into the BlizzCon press conference, and sure enough, she did.
Oh, wow.
It was a cool presentation regardless.
Yeah, the video was nice.
The video is very cool. It's opened up with the new animated short of Sombra. She is, as expected, a Talon hero, which means she's one of the bad guys, so to speak, in the Overwatch universe, or at least aligned with Reaper and Widowmaker, who are your other Talon agents. But she also seems to be a bit out for herself, as the animated short showed. She betrayed Reaper and Widowmaker in the middle of the thing to make an ally for herself.
No honor amongst thieves and whatnot.
Exactly. In terms of the actual character, she, as expected, has stealth and has a hacking ability. Not as expected, or depending on who you ask, she's classed as an assault hero. She's a DPS character. She's not a support character.
Offense?
Yeah, she's classed as an assault or offense character. So there are now 7 offense characters and only 4 supports. 5 supports. 5 if you count Symmetra.
That doesn't actually...
Which you shouldn't, because she's not a support.
I mentioned this. I don't know if I said this on the show, but that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me she was an offensive character, because like it's by far the most popular role in the game, you know, and like the fact that to me the idea that they wouldn't make another DPS just so that they could like even stuff out when like the joke is everyone is playing Genji and Reaper, you know, like that's because people want to be playing those characters.
Yeah, it is, you know, the more I thought about it, the more I am glad that she is an offense character, because there's a lot of games that you as a team, at least at kind of the lower rankings, a lot of times your team is not doing well simply because you just don't have enough DPS to kill the enemy team. And so to have a character that is fun to play, possibly easy to play, that's the thing about her, is I've played a handful of games against her and 1 or 2 with her. She's currently available to play on the PTR. You better hope you have your Overwatch game installed on an SSD if you want to play her, because she is auto-picked immediately by somebody. And with the change, this is one of the changes Blizzard made this time around, is in quick play, now there is a single hero limit, as there has been in competitive mode, which means if you want to play Sombra, you have to pick Sombra and be the first to do so. It makes for an overall better game experience, I think. I'm a fan of the single hero limit, but if you want to play her in a game environment, you got to pick her fast. But yeah, at this point in the game, nobody's played with her enough to really be super good with her. She plays a lot like Tracer. She has a lot of movement abilities. Her translocator is really cool if you use it properly. The ability to hack health packs is surprisingly really effective because they respawn so quickly. They can actually be used as a reliable source of healing. But the big point of contention is her ultimate ability. So the hacking ability, which is it's actually a right click on a 12-second cooldown. You channel it on an opponent, and her hack disables them from being able to use any abilities. So they can still attack and reload, but they can't use their abilities. If they have passive abilities, those stay active. So Lucio, for example, if he's hacked, he cannot crossfade between his speed and his healing, but whichever song he was on continues to play.
It's basically a silence. It's like a MOBA silence.
It's effectively a silence. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Her ultimate ability, however, is an EMP pulse that launches around her in a radius around her. And it not only hacks all enemies within range, but also removes all shields and barriers. So that means barriers in this game are things such as Reinhardt's shield, Zarya's bubble, and Winston's shield dome thing. But also it takes out the shields, which is half of Zarya's health, 3/4 of Zenyatta's health, and all of the shields built by Lucio's ultimate.
And how long does that last for?
The silence?
The silence.
6 seconds, I think.
Those shields will not reactivate for, I believe, 6 seconds as well before they'll start to recharge.
It's gross.
Yeah, it's
great.
very,
I feel
very
like
strong.
I would rage quit if that happened to me while I'm trying to defend a point.
And that's exactly how I felt when I played her at BlizzCon. Is I was like, she's incredibly fun to play. They've made her really speedy and really satisfying and really strong. And holy shit, she was annoying to play against. Like I was tearing my hair out playing against her because at least right now, I think the indication that you are being hacked or have been hacked is like not clear enough to me.
Mm-hmm. It's there, but it's a little bit like how Anna's grenade is right now, in that you get, when you're hit with Anna's grenade, you have a bit of an overlay, and it's sort of, if you're paying real close attention, you can start to recognize like the audio cues and the visual cues, but it's not super in your face about it. And so to have been hacked and then go to swing your ability and realize that it's not on, on the one hand, it's like, oh, well, my ability's just on cooldown now. But on the other, it's like, if you haven't used it yet, that can really turn the tide of battles towards the superior Sombra player. In terms of the ult, though, a lot of people are saying it's overpowered. But the way I'm sort of looking at it is the ults in Overwatch are meant to be overpowered. And the thing about Sombra's is it's very similar to Zarya's in that it alone will not wipe a team, I don't think. Like, you just get caught in Zarya's ult, you're not usually wiped unless somebody else is there to clean up, either with a second ult or possibly even two ults, such as a Genji plus a Dragon Blade, or Genji Dragon Blade plus an Ana nano boost, or if there's a Pharah there to Rocket Barrage. It needs to be the Zarya ult needs something else there to knock it down. However, it is also nullified by Transcendence healing or Lucio's break it down shields. And so the way I'm sort of looking at it is, if it takes two ults to wipe the team but can be countered by one, the Sombra is the third ult in that equation that counters this one. So if it takes three ults to nullify one and wipe a team, I'm sort of okay with that. The problem is when her ult both turns the tide of the battle and nullifies the counter, which is kind of what's happening with Lucio's. Like, it both takes out the Reinhardt shield and nullifies the counter to it, which is the Lucio shield or the the Transcendence healing, because in that 6 seconds you can't use that.
And no matter its power level, I think her ult and her kind of kit definitely goes along with what Blizzard was trying to do with PTR changes of slowing the game down and also making it less about does everyone have their ultimates ready, because now you have this character that can directly counter ults before they happen, right? So like it's a little bit more about, I think it might be a little bit more about like the timing of stuff. But enough on Sombra. Let's actually real quickly talk about the arcade mode, because I think this is also a really interesting thing. They took the weekly brawl and they stuck it in this new menu called the arcade mode. They also added a 1v1 mode to the game, which is really weird and cool, and they added a 3v3 mode, and they brought the no hero limits mode over to the arcade, and they've really made this like this safe space for people to play Overwatch in weird ways, basically.
Yeah, the no limits mode is the new kind of mess around and have fun and play a team with 6 Genjis or 6 Hanzos or 3 Meis and 3 Winstons or something, which people previously were like, it's quick play, it doesn't matter. But I like the ability to have a non-ranked competitive mode, which is what the new quick play is, as well as a ranked competitive mode. But I'm really, really excited, though, about the arena modes. There's a 1v1, a 3v3, and a 6v6 as well, I believe. And it's really cool. The 1v1 or at least the 1v1 mode, it's a mystery hero thing where you and your opponent are each randomly given a hero. You're the same hero, and then you do a 1v1, and it's a best of 9. Yeah, first to 5. First to 5 points, respawning as different random heroes. So it may be a, Widow versus Widowmaker, and then a Rein v Rein, and then a Hanzo v Hanzo, and it could create some pretty cool tense moments.
1v1 me, Tom.
I'll do it, man. Let's go.
Yeah, you win.
I don't know. I haven't.
What are the most fun matchups? Are there?
I've heard that I've heard the Widowmaker matchups are really cool because they're really tense, and playing Widow is a skill that some have, but not all. The Reinhardt matches are really crazy because it's so much of a. If you're I'm a Reinhardt main actually, and if you play a lot of Reinhardt, you know that even in a standard game of Overwatch, the matchup between two teams Reinhardts is very much a kind of rock paper scissors type game of figuring out basically his own moves kind of counter each other depending on the timing that they're used, and so that I can see that matchup being really cool. That's all I really have in terms of the ones I know about. I'm really excited, though, about the 3v3 mode. Actually, in our meeting this morning, Chris Thurston over on the pro side of PC Gamer was saying that potentially the 3v3 mode could be a future of competitive Overwatch in that it's a very arena-based, slugfest.
Oh, actually, this is the last thing I want to talk about with Overwatch is the Pro League that they announced.
There's also that. It's really cool.
Speaking of competitive, I don't know, Tyler, have you heard the details about this? Because I'm hyped as hell for the Overwatch League.
Yeah, I don't really get how it's going to work yet.
I don't think anybody gets totally, but it sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's like city-based teams, right? Or region-based.
So Blizzard is hosting this Overwatch League where they're basically trying to be the NFL of Overwatch, where they're gonna do tryouts for players.
They have a player combine where players who are good, I guess you have to probably be. They haven't released any data or information about what the requirements are to go to these combines, but presumably you'll go there, have a tryout, and teams will draft you to their local teams, and the teams will be region-based or city-based.
The San Francisco Giants and the New York Yankees. It's gonna be sports-based like that. And I have been saying for years, literally years, that we need esports to take on a city-based thing, because the truth of the matter is, if esports is trying to reach a larger audience, at least in the United States, maybe this is a different situation in other countries and across the seas and all that jazz, but in the United States, if esports wants to try and reach a wider audience, if you tell someone, hey, are you going to watch the Overwatch thing? It's the finals. Fnatic is playing Cloud9. They'll be like, I don't know what that means. Somebody who doesn't follow esports is going to be like, okay, whatever. But somebody who knows esports is going to be like, oh, Fnatic and Cloud9, that must be a big game because those are big esports teams. But if you tell someone, hey, you're going to watch the finals tonight, San Francisco is playing Houston, that's something that someone in San Francisco who knows nothing about the game is going to be like, fuck yeah, let's go San Francisco, right? They're going to root for that team regardless. And I think that's really exciting to me, even if we don't know the details yet. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll have my Washington D.C. team out here, I guess.
Oh yeah, man.
Play you guys back in SF.
Who knows if it works, but I hope it does.
I hope it does.
Yeah, their pitch video was super slick and almost the pitch almost felt like a scheme at first, where it's just you're gonna make money and become famous by playing Overwatch. Yeah. And so that the really slick intro video for a second turned me off, but as I sort of started to understand what they were trying to do, I was happy to see a different approach taken to esports, because I am a sports guy, if you couldn't tell by the hat and the hockey jersey in the background. And that's an issue I have with esports, is that unless you've been following the players and teams for a long time to know their personalities and know what they're like, how do you jump in? You don't know you don't know who the underdog is. It's also complicated. You've never heard of these team names. maybe like me trying to help Chris Thurston, our pro editor, with the like esports articles when he's out. It's just this hilarious bumbling thing where I'm diving into Reddit threads being like, wait, who's on what team? And oh, he switched. Oh, he's off that team now. And how many like uppercase and lowercase letters are in the name? I don't know. I'm confused because I'm a baby, and that's why an esports baby, and that's why we have Chris Thurston on the team to know this stuff. And people think Baltimore in there. When it comes to baseball, I'm a National League guy, so yeah. Sorry.
Well, let's touch on the last thing that came out of BlizzCon, which was Diablo, which we were expecting to be a big old thing, and actually was kind of a whatever thing.
Kind of not much.
They announced the Necromancer, which is very exciting, and it'll be coming in a paid DLC sometime in 2017, and that's all they said. They announced 2 new zones are going to be coming in a free update at some point, and they also announced that, which I believe is already on the PTR, is that they recreated Diablo 1, but within Diablo 3, and as a temporary annual event that shows up, is going to show up like every November.
I'm sort of really confused about how they're doing it, because it's like it's Diablo 1 in the Diablo 3 engine, but like with Diablo 1 mechanics and graphics and everything.
They lo-fied the graphics. They like worked and spent time to make the graphics look like Diablo 1. And I feel like that's really Blizzard like trying to do something nice for the community, but also completely misreading the community. Like if they had just recreated Diablo 1 in the Diablo 3 engine and sold it for like $30, I feel like people would be more excited about that than this like this monthly event yearly event within Diablo 3.
Yeah, it's like a half measure toward what people would potentially want. It seems weird to me.
It's kind of strange, but let's.
But it's cool.
Yeah, no, it is cool, and I'm glad it's doing it. I'm probably going to jump in and try it, but it's just also just like kind of like, oh, okay, Blizzard, thank you for this thing. But let's open it up. Let's stop talking about ourselves and open it up to Twitch chat. And you guys can ask questions about Diablo or Overwatch or the new LPC and what we're going to do with it, or why Tyler doesn't like Call of Duty, or any of those things and more. Just tag us with @PCGamer in the Twitch chat. We'll read your questions. If you're a Twitch subscriber, we'll definitely try to get to you as soon as we can. And we'd love to hear from you. If you are watching on youtube.com/PCGamer or PCGamer.com/podcast, or listening on iTunes or wherever it happens to be, you're always welcome to join us live Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time at twitch.tv/PCGamer. Have I said that quick enough yet? I feel like I'm getting quicker and quicker.
That was good.
All right, let's start grabbing some questions. Subscriber Kunifu asks, after the FPS overload of the past couple of weeks, can you name your favorite gun or weapon from an FPS? For me, it would be a tie between the brutal punch of the flat cannon from UT and the pure lethality of the Kar 98K from Call of Duty 2. So favorite gun or weapon from an FPS?
Well, the flat cannon is great. I think we declared that the best shooter gun ever at some point. So aside from that one, I used to like just really love sniping even when I was like useless to my team, but I also really love just hit scan weapon duels. Quake 2's railgun, I'm a huge fan of playing Instagib in Unreal Tournament. So yeah, I'll go with Quake 2's railgun because I like the pixely blue spiral, and I thought Quake 3's just kind of like semi-transparent beam sort of sucked. It didn't look powerful. I'll keep talking if it gives Tom longer to think.
I know. I'm really thinking hard about this, man. I think this might be like a weird answer because it's not really a shooter per se. I guess it is. I think that I don't even remember the name of it now. The Fat Man or whatever from Fallout.
The Fat Man the launcher, yeah.
Yeah, like that at least deserves a shout out, right? Like that thing is hysterical and weird and great. To be able to shoot mini nukes at people is
just excessive.
Maybe not what you're looking for in terms of that answer, but it deserves a call out at least.
I got to go with the rocket hammer.
Oh, really?
It's what I use. It gets the job done for me.
All right, let's grab a couple more. Panzer2 asks, Tyranny drops tomorrow. Will we see a review anytime soon? I need to know what games deserve my money. Yeah, we are reviewing Tyranny right now, and there will be a review. When can we expect that, Tyler? Do you know?
Yeah, it should be tomorrow. I know that our reviewer, Stephen Messner, who's written a lot of great stuff for us, he has finished the game, and because they did send over early review code. So I expect to be reading that review tonight and posting it tomorrow. And we can't really say anything because, I'd have to check, but I assume we're not supposed to till it's up. And I saw people asking about Dishonored as well. We've just today gotten early code for that, so it's not early enough to have a review done on launch day, because I would not expect anyone to try to play that game that quickly and write a review. That would be crazy. But we do hope to have, or not hope, we will have impressions and some technical details up when the game is released. We kind of have to do that a lot for games. I did that for Call of Duty. When we get a copy of it, the day before it's out or the day it is out, we just have to really quick put something, some impressions up, but then spend a little more time for the actual review. So that review will probably be like Monday or Tuesday. As we
spoke about on the show earlier, Bethesda's review policy of not sending until the day before, and now we see the exact ramifications of that in today's show. So there you go. JBJ Blaze asked a question earlier, I know, said, in the past 2.5 years, what are you guys' favorite retro-style games, listing Freedom Planet, Owlboy, Shovel Knight, Stardew Valley, Undertale, or something greater? I'm a big fan of Owlboy. I'm a big fan of Stardew Valley. Massive fan of Stardew Valley.
Definitely Stardew Valley for me. I love that game. Undertale is also super, super cool.
I'd also recommend people take a look at a game called Creepy Castle that just came out from the publishers of The Binding of Isaac, Nicholas. Creepy Castle I got to play at PAX West. I included it in this week's new Steam Games post. It's just a really, really fun kind of like reminiscent of Undertale, super retro game. So check out Creepy Castle if you're interested in old school games like that as well. We got a question, Varendeel asked a good question. Actually, Velociroar and Varendeel both asked questions that we can probably end on, which is, what do you guys think about the new Mass Effect Andromeda info we got the other day, and like kind of what would we like to see from that? We didn't learn a whole lot about Mass Effect Andromeda from the trailer. It was just kind of like, hey, it's coming.
I was kind of bummed by it. I thought N7 Day would be like a big deal, but it was really like, here's like sort of another story cinematic setup trailer, and you can see more gameplay at the Game Awards on December 1st, which they're calling the gameplay debut, but they did show people playing it during the PS4 Pro announcement. So yeah, I don't know. What did we learn? Really?
I don't know. I don't even know if we did. We got the release window is spring 2017, right? And like
it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks
pretty
cool, I guess. It's hard to tell early, but I'd like to see. You asked what we'd like to see, Velociroar. I'd like to see gameplay.
Yeah. Some abilities, maybe some.
I know you probably meant like what conceptually would we like to see, but I just want to know more about it. I don't know what direction they're going to go, how far they're going to diverge from the original series, and I want to know more still.
Did we get the main character's name? I feel like we maybe did.
Oh, we already. We already had that as a writer. You are one of two writers. Evan just put our trailer analysis in. I'm sure. I think Chris Thurston dug into that, and he probably had some insight. Although the first thing he says is it's a spaceship, and that is absolutely true. I'm excited for it. I'm also like nervous because it's a series I really liked, and I want for it to be good and fun. But it'll be all new characters, right? And so I'm just constantly have this thought of like, what if I don't like the characters? What if I don't like Ryder? What if I don't like being Ryder or something, All
right, there's two questions I want to hit before we finish up. First is FlaxCam asks, any Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals you guys are hoping for? I don't know about hoping for specifically. I think a lot of people are hoping for like some new games to go on sale really, really quick. But the main thing I do want to point out is we're going to have a lot of Black Friday and Cyber Monday coverage on the site, so definitely check out PCGamer.com around then, because we're going to be updating the site, all day, pretty much, and all probably over the week, through the weekend.
Through the weekend, we'll be doing pretty much as up to the minute deal coverage as we can. Just tracking down, finding those good deals, and posting them up for you guys to find and use.
So keep an eye out for that. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on is Evan actually asked a question, which is cheating because he, is our boss. But I figure I have to take it because he's our boss. But he asked, what's going to be the biggest genre of 2017? I think that's an interesting question, and I wanted to touch on because I think, in my opinion, the answer is, in maybe the rising genre of 2017 is going to be like a battle right style game. I think it's going to be much more intimate, smaller round combat games. We saw it try to be attempted with Smash and Grab. Battle right is already incredibly successful, and I think that we're going to see more of those games pop up. What's the game? The RTS one that's similar that I was really into that I now totally can't remember the name of. With the mechs. Crap. I can't remember the name of it. But Sparky Pants. Drop Zone. Got it. Drop Zone, made by Sparky Pants. That game is also similar. I think that kind of intimate, either team or solo kind of arena combat game is really going to get more popular in a way that class-based shooters did this year, and MOBAs were before that. Anybody have last thoughts?
It's going to be point-and-click adventures. Will dominate the entire scene. In fact, Call of Duty next year, I think they should make it a point-and-click.
Call of Duty point-and-click.
Be good.
Oh, man.
Telltale's Call of Duty?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a good answer because I just there's such diversity out there that I haven't thought about predicting such a thing, Evan. Thanks for thanks for catching me on a question I don't have an answer to.
I think Mass Effect will kick off the year for RPGs, and then we'll kind of see what else comes in the rest of the year. I'm not even totally sure what the rest of the year release calendar looks like.
The year of RPGs is what every year Cyberpunk 2077 comes out.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
That's the year of RPGs, even if it's only that one.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. We are out of time, but we appreciate every view. You can always catch all our old episodes at pcgamer.com/podcast, where we have it on YouTube, on MP3, on everything like that. And you can leave us a comment there, too, on the latest post. We always like getting your feedback, hearing what you like or don't like about the show. We love hearing from you. And we will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place, 1 p.m. Pacific time, Wednesdays on twitch.tv/PCGamer. Thanks very much, and we'll see you then. Bye, guys.